Good morning, everybody, from a now looking very optimistic Newgrange. The sky is brighter as the morning has gone on, and we're optimistic this morning that we will see some sun in the chamber. My name is Claire Tuffy, and with me is Dr. Frank Prendergast. On behalf of the Office of Public Works and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, we want to welcome everybody to Newgrange this morning. We have a great crowd here, and we know that we are being watched from every corner of the globe. So this morning when we arrived, it was very wet and windy, but it has changed for the good. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Claire.
Now, for those of you who don't know exactly where we are, we just want to give you a little bit of an introduction to Newgrange. This is a map of Europe, as you can see, and you can see the island of Ireland off the mainland of Europe. And we are situated on the east coast of Ireland in County Meath in the Boyne Valley. There is a big loop in the River Boyne, and within that big loop or bend of the Boyne, you've got three huge monuments. The focus this morning is on Newgrange. 5,000 years old, built in the Stone Age, what is known as a passage tomb. So Frank, you've been studying solstices, summer and winter. What is the meaning of solstice?
Good morning again, Claire. And this morning is all about the sun and the solar alignment at Newgrange. And the sun, being the supreme celestial body, has motivated cultures across all times and all cultures. And seasonally, if you are located anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere and you observe the rising sun any time during the year, you will notice, and you cannot fail to notice, the movement of the sun along the horizon. And it keeps going, and up to the June solstice at its northern extreme. But today we are watching the sun rise as close as possible to its southern limit on the horizon. And it will hang there for a day or two or three.
And the winter solstice we're celebrating here on December 21st, but in fact the moment of solstice is on 22nd this year. How many years does it occur on the 21st versus the 22nd?
I'm glad you had asked me that, Claire. And 56% of solstices occur on the 21st, and that would mean that about 46%, 44% occur on the 22nd. So the majority occur on the 21st. And therefore, logically, the notional day for solstice is the 21st.
Thank you very much. Now, for those of you who have never had the chance to visit Newgrange, we prepared a short video. It's very short. Sunrise, for those of you who are worrying about what time will the sun actually clear the horizon. Sunrise is just before 9 o'clock, so we have time yet. But this is just to show our viewers what it's like to be at Newgrange. And this is the entrance area, and you can see the fantastic entrance stone, regarded as being a masterpiece of Stone Age art. It was carved in situ 5,000 years ago, and then up along the passage where our lucky lottery winners will be going this morning. The passage is just over 19 metres long. There's places along the passage that you think people might stop and hesitate before they went further, because it's very hard now to imagine what it was like to be going up that narrow, dark passage 5,000 years ago.
And as we reach the end of the passage, and for me, it's almost like entering a magnificent cathedral, because leaving the passage, you enter a very special sacred area. And this area is a burial chamber, circular in plan, corbel stones that rise up to a roof, sealed by a capstone, completely waterproof 5,000 years later.
And the remains of the dead were placed in this chamber and on top of these carved stone basins. These are the basins in the right-hand recess as you enter. The top basin, a beautiful piece of granite. And then over their heads is this wonderful megalithic art. And at Newgrange, the art is sometimes kind of hidden. And you can see by this stone that some of the art goes right in underneath the stone that supports it. There you have some lozenges and diamond shapes, and there on the edge of the corbel you can see some more divided diamond shapes. There are three side recesses. They were moving down now to the one on the left-hand side as you enter.
The architecture of the cruciform shape, as we call it, is almost unique to Ireland. The greatest number of cruciform passage tombs occur on this island, with a few off the island. So we've got the majority, and there's something speaking to us from the distant past. And in one sense, it connects us to our ancestors. Over 5,000 years ago, there is an immutable connection between then and now. And for me, this is most profound. And there you see the triple spiral or the three spiral on the hidden inner face of the back recess. And Claire?
And this is the path that we hope the sun will follow. If you if you kneel down and look out from the floor of the chamber, you can see the doorway, but more specifically, you can see the opening over the doorway through which the sunlight shines. So we'll just go back and have another look through the roof box this morning to see how that's looking. And it's lovely to see the clouds have cleared away. It's very windy here, which is always a good sign, because if it blows us away, it'll blow the clouds away. And that's the view along the passage. And some light always gets into the monument just because the door is open. But what we're waiting for this morning is for the first beam of light to hit the floor inside the chamber. I often think that must be the most watched piece of floor in Ireland.
It most certainly is. And what you're getting here is a fantastic view from a camera mounted on the lintel stone of the roof box. And it was only during our research in 2020 and 2021 that we conceived of these ideas of capturing the phenomena. And for the very first time, we were getting this spectacular view through the roof box, that special slit. And there you see the camera. And it was Professor O'Kelly's discovery of this special opening that led to so much of our information and knowledge on the prehistoric past in terms of ritual, ceremony, worldview.
And we have an animation of how the sun actually gets into the chamber, because it can seem confusing that the opening is over the doorway and yet we're waiting for the sun on the floor of the chamber. But the whole of the monument is built on the side of the hill, and the floor level inside is nearly 2 meters higher than outside. And 5,000 years ago, the beam of light, would it have been as we see it now?
No, and the Earth is a very unstable planet in terms of its orbit. And we now know, of course, through astronomy, that the movement of the sun over millennia has changed. And these two visuals give it to you very clearly. On the top, you see the present day rising position of the sun against the real horizon. Below, you see about 2 diameters to the right, where the sun would have risen 5,000 years ago. All of that is part of a very long-term cycle called obliquity, and that cycle continues. So the movement of the sun on the horizon, as in the top view, will continue millennium by millennium, up until about 10,000 years ahead.
And there's the trees now. We won't see the sun, I wouldn't think, just as the sun clears the horizon, but we might see it before the time passes for it to be in the chamber. If we had a perfectly clear sky, we would see the sun in the chamber from 2 minutes to 9 until 15 minutes past 9. That's the special. And don't forget, if you're watching us, to use our hashtag, which is Newgrange Solstice. The beam of light 5,000 years ago, would it be the same then as it is now?
No. And in fact, research by Professor Tom Ray some years ago showed that because of that different position of the sun in the Neolithic, which is 3,200 BC or thereabouts, the beam would have pushed right to the end of the back recess, which you can see marked clearly there. And you have a broader beam and lasting longer.
Now we'll go to the people who are the lucky lottery winners, the people who are actually going to go inside the chamber for this morning. We have, they're being led in by Leontia, our colleague, our long-term colleague, and she's looking happy. And you can see the people going in pairs. And they were wearing these lanyards, which I always think is like a golden ticket. And this morning, we have people from Dublin. We have people from the United States. We have 2 couples from Cork. and then somebody who's come a long way, all the way from Navan. And that the person who won, the Navan person who won, is only 10 years of age. And she chose to bring her dad. Each person who wins a place in the chamber gets to choose a guest, gets to bring a guest. Because when we were developing the lottery in the year 2000, we were talking about it, and would we just, if you won a ticket, would it just be yourself? And we thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to share this experience with somebody special and somebody to hold hands with in the darkness? And, you know, it's a kind of an overwhelming experience being chosen to be at Newgrange for Dawn, because it's almost as if you're a representative from the present to our ancestors in the past. And what Leontia's doing there now is she's organising the people so that we have room for the light. And you can see from that camera on the floor, you can see the little triangle of light. So she's organising them either side of the path for the sunlight. It's not often we get to see a view of the chamber from above. And what strikes me always when there are people inside is how small it is. The monument has an estimated 200,000 tons of stone, and the passage and the chamber are quite small.
What's interesting, Claire, is that the height from the floor to the capstone is about 6 metres, and there's another 6 metres of material on top of that before you reach the surface. But tell me, Claire, I've often wondered, because of your vast experience of taking groups and meeting people on solstice, if there isn't a sunshine or an illumination of the chamber, how do people react?
Well, of course, the mornings that it's looking hopeful, everybody's like ourselves, kind of giddy. But the mornings that it's dull, you know, you kind of feel, well, I've come all this way and maybe it's not going to work. But the magic of Newgrange works, because you are there keeping vigil. And it's not about the sun, it's about waiting for the sun. It's about being there and being witness. And there's a lovely shot of the basin stone. I've never seen it from that angle before. And the top stone is made from granite, and the bottom one is far too big to bring in after the monument was built. So you'd wonder if it was there a long time before the great mound of Newgrange was built.
I think it had to be, Claire, because the size, the physical size of that basin stone on the right-hand recess is so large that clearly there was planning and forethought. They were thinking about the architecture and the design, and they moved the basin stone into position and then began the construction of the recess around it.
Yeah, and it's all about the sun. The whole monument was built around the axis. The axis of the monument is built around sunrise at winter solstice. So I imagine they're feeling very excited now.
I've been so privileged to be in the chamber, even on my own, doing research work and stuff, and to be there is just phenomenal, be it alone or with others.
So what Leontia's doing now is she's just explaining exactly what will happen, because, you know, you come to Newgrange as a visitor and you listen to the guided tour, and you think you've heard it all, but once you are here for Dawn, you kind of get worried then that you've forgotten things. So she's just explaining what exactly will happen. So if we have the advantage now on the people inside, because we can look outside. And if we could just have another look at the horizon to see how we're doing. Not too bad.
Not too bad. We're always optimistic. And we should point out that it is very probable and likely that in the Neolithic, when the tomb was in use as a burial monument, a funerary monument, there was a very large stone which would have been in position, blocking the doorway and sealing or preventing light from entering up the passage, so that the only light entering the passage was via the roof box or slit or slot opening.
And remember, if you're watching us, please use the Newgrange Solstice hashtag, And I want to give a special shout out to all the school children who are in classrooms this morning and adults who are watching us as part of their school work. Because I know this monument is probably, we think it is the iconic monument of Ireland, and it is included on the curriculum of all of our schools. And it's such a great way to be able to bring heritage into the classroom, to be able to broadcast live from a 5,000-year-old tomb. Oh, so they've turned off the lights, so now they're waiting.
And within the chamber itself, when there is no artificial illumination and you're waiting on that beam of light to enter, it is effectively total darkness, and you can just barely see other people surrounding you in the space. And within the recesses, it is total darkness because we've measured it.
Yeah.
But once that beam of light penetrates the chamber and comes up along the floor as a golden dagger or shaft, the illumination that emanates from that is just phenomenal.
I'm always reminded of A Dream of Solstice, which is a poem by Seamus Heaney. And he describes the light. And he says, dawn light began stealing through the cold universe to County Meath. And I just love that image of this beam of light travelling from the sun. And it makes you feel, for one morning only, that this is the most important place in the world. And for the people who built it 5,000 years ago, this was the centre of their ritual activity.
When we look on the view out to the horizon now, I think of climate and climate change and our atmosphere, which is precious to us. And with all the concern and interest in what's going on in the global sense, we think back to the Neolithic and wonder what was the climate like in those times. And there is considerable body of archaeological research. Muriel McClatchy, for example, Jill Plunkett and others have produced archaeological papers which assess climate in the past using proxies. In other words, seeing where people grew things, at what altitudes they could grow crops to higher than is now possible because of temperature differences. And there is a reasonable claim to make that in the Neolithic, around the peak of monument building in the Boyne Valley at least, there was probably a warmer climatic regime, leading to a greater number of high pressures and therefore a higher probability that you would have witnessed the solstice much more frequently than perhaps we do today.
And I just think I'd prefer them, the people who built it, to have clear skies than us. But I still love a few clear skies for us too.
Well, our studies show that you have a chance of about 1 in 3.
That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah. And here now, these people are doing their best to drum up the sun. And I just think it's a fantastic experience to be able to reach out and hold hands with a complete stranger and celebrate the sun and celebrate the winter solstice. And there's a great connection between these monuments and us. And I think I always say the family of Newgrange reaches out far and wide. And many, many people have a great affection for the monument. It has become, as I said earlier, the iconic monument of Ireland. And while they're waiting inside, they'll be talking now, chatting about the time they came as visitors to Newgrange. And it's only when we contact the people who have won the lottery that we realise the impact a visit to Newgrange has had on people. And many people, when we contact them to say they've won a place, they say, I knew I was going to win. I just got a feeling. And then I always think too, it's a great act of faith to travel here in the darkness, thinking about being here for dawn, waiting as they did 5,000 years ago.
Interestingly, when you think about the solar alignment, midwinter, winter solstice, generally that's associated with death and renewal at a time of year when the sun will halt, stop, and then reverse its direction on the horizon, promising brighter days. We're all very well aware that these few days of winter solstice, the arc of the sun in the sky is incredibly low, no more than about 12 degrees high. and it is blinding. And if you're driving or cycling, you notice this. And compare that to summer when it is way up in the sky at midday. And the rising and set positions are similarly further north. So this winter period of solstice is very special astronomically, but also culturally.
And for us now, in our modern times with our warm houses and our electric lights, we look forward to the stretch in the evenings. But 5,000 years ago, the people who gathered here, for them, it must have seemed very powerful that their scientists could predict exactly when the turning point was, and that somehow the light going into the chamber marked a significant turning of the year. They could all look forward to the new year and to full tummies again and
Absolutely.
crops in the field.
And in the sky, you know, we've got two celestial bodies, the moon and the sun, and they are the primal objects in which culturally people would have looked and taken an interest in their movements. And the moon could have been used as a timekeeper, the lunar phase cycle through the month, very easy to track your time to within 2 days or so. But the sun is cyclical and much more seasonal, and it determines, in a sense, the winter, the spring, and the summer. All due, of course, to the tilt of the Earth's axis, which we mentioned earlier.
Oh, you can see the glow. You can see it on the floor. That's just, I'd say, it's not direct sunlight, but certainly there's a glow on the floor. This is the view from the back recess. There's very little light on the floor of the chamber yet. But people's eyes would have adjusted to the darkness inside, and the whole room would be brighter.
Much so.
Yeah.
Very much.
Be able to discern the shape of the room. So I bet they're all holding hands now in the dark and waiting and wishing.
It takes about 20 minutes for the human eye to adapt to darkness fully. There is so much we do not know about behavior and ritual and practice and customs in the Neolithic. Nonetheless, we can postulate or speculate on the nature of the ceremony. Were there people in the chamber at this time of year? Big questions. If there were, what rank did they hold? Was it reserved for an elite?
Yeah. You just see a hand or a leg going forward there. What I always think when you're in the chamber is that you're cut off from the outside world. And I know that when I've been in the chamber and waiting, I'm waiting for the cheer outside. Because if I can hear, it's real quiet in the chamber because you're out of the wind and out of the rain. So you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and you've lost sense even of how long you've been in there. And your ears are pricked up to see if you can hear any noise or any indication from the outside. And that's something that the Neolithic builders did very well. They separated the interior of the chamber from the outside. It's only 19 meters. And yet you could be in a different world. You're in the world of the spirits, the world of the ancestors. So if we could just take a sneak peek through the roof box and see what's happening. Still clouds on the horizon, but a good brightening above it. And I can just see a hint of sun. The sun is up now, but it's hidden by the clouds on the horizon.
An intriguing fact to do at Newgrange is that the discovery of a quartz block in the roof box opening, one of, we think, three, and scratch marks on the upper surface of the lintel stone suggesting that these quartz blocks were removed and reinserted periodically to control light and darkness within the burial chamber itself. With the door blocked and then quartz blocks in situ in the roof box opening, you would have had total darkness in the chamber. So was it that periodically or seasonally and ritually these quartz blocks may have been removed for a particular purpose?
So if we go back inside now, we see what our lucky lottery winners, our vigil keepers, are seeing. Still no light on the floor, but I can see I can see more of the gravel than I could. I wonder if we could see down along the passage, if we could zoom in a little bit and see. Oh yeah, you can see some of the light on the left of the, see that stone that's tilting
Yes.
outwards? You can see some reflected light on it.
Some of the what are called the orthostats, or the upright stones that constitute the passage, lean now inwards, and you can see that very clearly. And we speculate that in the Neolithic, when first constructed, those passage orthostats probably were more vertical or upright, and that would have contributed to a much broader, prominent, spectacular sunbeam on the floor.
A wider view now. Still the cloud persisting on the horizon. We will get sun today, but will it be too late for the chamber? There, looking back up the passage now, you can see the glow. It's just the reflected light. I'm right, haven't I? This is the most watched floor in Ireland.
Most certainly.
And it's lovely to have people back in the chamber. Like, I mean, we were very grateful that we were able to conduct the research when the chamber was closed to the public during the global pandemic. But what makes Newgrange beat are people. And without people being here to witness, we lose something of the event. So welcome back to everybody. And remember, wherever you're watching, use our hashtag Newgrange Solstice.
As with many of these large focal sites throughout Ireland and Britain, these would have been places to gather, to travel to assemble and to celebrate, and to meet your old friends.
Absolutely. Oh, there's a little bit of
and perhaps even exchange artifacts and gifts.
And we have a great crowd here this morning, and some of them were here like in the pitch darkness and the wind and the rain, all well wrapped up, all wishing each other a happy solstice. What a great place to be.
And we're so lucky now, Claire, to have an archive of fantastic imagery, scientifically gathered and measured and analysed, all during the COVID lockdown of 2020 and 2021. So thanks to your inspired suggestion, the team was put together very quickly, and National Monument Service and Office of Public Works together collaborated, and we did the work, and very successfully. And in 2024, we will have a new report coming out describing all of what was done and captured.
And while we wait for the sun, we just think of all the people who have waited before us, all the generations. And we've been watching for sun at Newgrange now since it was rediscovered in 1967. And it's a time for remembering all the Newgrange family, all the people who have worked with us over the years, and all the people who have contributed so much to our knowledge. And you know, Newgrange is a monument. We keep saying it keeps on giving, but that it has a lot of secrets yet, and some of them have yet to be revealed. You can see a nice little glow on the floor there. That's the view from inside the chamber, looking back down along the passage.
We think Professor O'Kelly in 1967 would have been the first archaeologist to visit the chamber at this time and to put his head down on the floor in the chamber and take that incredible view out through the roof box and then witness what was occurring, and so eloquently described in his book.
Come on, son. You just have a quick look at the horizon again. It's nice and bright, but will it come up on time?
You can see on the horizon those distinctive conifers, those tall ones in the center of the field of view. And just to the left of those trees is where today the sun would have risen.
Yeah. But I'm afraid at this stage we're waiting for it to get above that cloud. We have some time yet. We have another 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody watching could just stay quiet for just a couple of seconds, and we'll use all our powers together to try and get that sun in. I can hear a cheer. Yeah, we have sun.
Just at the end of the time budget.
We have a few minutes
Amazing.
yet.
We have.
They'll be so excited. I'm so excited.
On the horizon now, the orb of the sun is beginning to dazzle us outside.
Oh, fantastic. Now back in to see where it is now. You can see how the divide between the light that's at the front of the picture is the light coming through the roof box.
Mm-hmm.
This is the view from the chamber roof.
Yes.
You can see just a little glow on the floor on the right-hand side. But I think the pictures from the floor show the phenomenon better. Maybe if we looked from the roof box camera back up the passage, we could see the passage illuminated by the sun. Oh, fantastic. And you can see the division between the doorway and the roof box. So it's the top light that's getting into the chamber. Well, if you had said to me at 6 o'clock this morning that we would see sun in the chamber, I would have been amazed. This is the view from the roof looking down on the floor, and the beam of light is reaching all the way across the chamber now. Well, all I can say is the power of the mind. We all concentrated. We all wished the sun in, and in it came. And wherever you're watching, please use the Newgrange Solstice hashtag and tell us about your where you are and what you're doing, and where you're watching this program from.
What is so powerful about what is happening right now is that you are connecting to people 5,200 years ago who were witnessing exactly the same phenomena as we can today. So that gives us a sort of a continuity, and the word is immutable. It links us in an unchanged fashion between culture, which is so far back in time, to today.
And you can just see the light stretching across the floor. This is the view from the roof, looking down onto the floor. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Somebody's foot moving into the light there. And at this stage, you can see the light has almost got a 3D
It
quality.
does. In fact, when you're there and you see the dust particles in the light, it is just incredible. It animates it. It becomes tangible.
Who would have thought when they dreamed this up 5,000 years ago that we would bear witness all these years later? I wonder what they would think of us and all our technology, being astounded by their technology. And we're looking down at the floor of the chamber again. And we can see that beam of light moving just in the center of the floor.
When we think of these gigantic tombs in particular, it is a statement of commemorating the past by the builders and their ancestors, but it is also a statement of the present, and also that these monuments would last into the future.
Yeah.
And they knew this, and they built them accordingly. Could they have ever guessed that these monuments would have survived the time depth that they have?
When they built them forever. And
Forever.
We're very grateful. We have the most wonderful heritage sites in this country, and we have to thank all the generations of people who looked after them and who are still looking after them. And it is such a wonderful gift to have so many of the remains of the past here with us. And it is our obligation and responsibility to make sure that they're looked after into the future. But we can't do it alone. We need the help of everybody. So we need to preserve our monuments, and we need to mind them. And remember, if you're watching us, please, and if you want to contact us, please use the Newgrange Solstice hashtag. Now the light has left the chamber, but as it's making its way down the passage, and at this stage there'll be a great reluctance for the group within the chamber to move out, but also for the hundreds and hundreds of people who are outside. They'll start to get anxious to get in now. But we'll take our time, because if you win a place at the lottery to be at Newgrange for Solstice Dawn, nobody, and certainly not us, is going to rush you. It is an occasion to be savoured.
If you look down on the Bruna landscape and think about what it is a cultural landscape and complex consisting of over 40 monuments. And these were inscribed by UNESCO in 1993. on their World Heritage Site list for 3 reasons. The site has the largest and most important expression of megalithic art in Europe, the sheer concentration of monuments in the landscape, and the passage tomb tradition, and this is the really important one, is brought to its most developed and finest expression here, where we are right now.
And we'll be leaving you here from Newgrange shortly. Another glance maybe at the horizon. I think the clouds are coming over again. You can see the sun, but you can see the clouds. So thanks to the ancient spirits and the ancestors and whoever sent us the sun, we are very grateful. But I also have a few more thank yous to do. I want to thank my dear friend Frank Prendergast for sitting here with me and giving such a wonderful commentary. And I also want to thank the National Monument Service of the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, as well as all of my colleagues in the Office of Public Works. Special thanks to Event Management Unit of the Office of Public Works and to Creative Technology, who are getting the pictures from here to you, and our director, who's wonderful, Niamh Brannock. And if you want to visit here at any time, we'll put up a tile just to show you that our website is heritageireland.ie, worldheritageireland.ie. And one more thank you before I go. I want to thank Shane Brennan and all the staff of the National Monuments Depot and Trim, and thanks to all the staff at Brunamonia. And from Frank and I here at Newgrange on this wonderful, sunny solstice morning, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.